although we go through these different trials and tribulations of losing a parent, losing a sibling, losing a friend that's closer than a biological brother, losing a coach, losing someone who holds a sacred place in our hearts, that brings about a level of trauma. I began to share with us some of the steps that we have to execute. The first thing I really dealt with is we must be conscious of the different seasons that we are in. In other words, we must be conscious of the time period of when the trauma surfaces back to the top. And what I mean by that, we are getting ready to approach the holiday season of Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and also New Year's. And this is one of the most highest times of the year where folks attempt to take their own lives because they no longer have that significant person in their lives to share and celebrate all of the different festivities. And so I want you to really take a great note going forward after hearing the sound of my voice. I want you to take a great note of the different seasons, the different times of the year where the tragedy or the tragedy brings about the trauma to resurface in our lives. It's somewhat like PTSD. Something happens in the physical realm that triggers that emotion, that triggers a thought, that brings back a memory, and we must be conscious of that season. We must be conscious of the time. We must be conscious of the actual thing that triggered the emotion, that brought the thought. We also have to be very, very conscious of how we respond. We have to be responsive to the emotions and the thoughts of which take place within these earthen vessels of clay, because how we respond will determine the outcome. And far too often, many of us, because we don't know how to navigate trauma or navigate grief in a healthy manner, we irrationally respond that makes the situation worse than what it began to be. And so it's imperative to really take note of, you know, the frequency that these emotions and these thoughts and these triggers take place throughout the year. And then point B, it's important to understand the length of when they come. In other words,